All right. Any cursing or swearing? Shut them off. Ban them from the channel. Okay.
Hi, Kent. Can you hear me?
There. Now I can hear you. There. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah, I can
Oh,
hear you.
perfect. Yeah. Well, perfect. Kind of a
Good to
strong
see
word.
you, Kent. I have a question about Australia. We have a lot of fossil sites with marsupials in Australia.
Hmm.
And then we also have the current Australian species, the marsupials that are there
Right.
now alive.
Hmm.
So, how would you explain the fact that we have fossilized marsupials, which I assume you would think formed in the flood, and then we have the current biodiversity of marsupials that live there now? And I just want to add that, from a scientific perspective, we can explain this by the fact that marsupials came from South America through Antarctica to Australia, and then Australia has been isolated for about 35 million years. So that's the current scientific understanding. But go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I'm not aware. Have any marsupial fossils been found in other parts of the world? I know we have possums live right here on our property. They're marsupials. Are there any?
Yes,
Are there any
there's
kangaroo
there's
fossils? Google that, would you, Billy or Nick?
there's a lot of marsupials in South America, and North America, of course, has the opossum. But marsupials are theorized to have come from North and South America through Antarctica into Australia, where then Australia was isolated through Gondwana land breaking up. And that's why we have just marsupials for the most part on Australia today, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I know that's the current theory. First place, the Earth cannot possibly be built that to 35 million years old for lots of scientific reasons. Okay, which I cover on my video number 1. I believe the whole world was mostly land before the flood came in the days of Noah. Let me see if I can get this called up here. As far as the Pangea and Gowana land, I think that's a bunch of baloney. Maybe that's not the right word. Uh, Here's the textbook stuff they teach. All the continents used to be joined together. But you can move all the continents around, make a chicken. There we go. Okay. They say Africa and South America seem to be a perfect fit. It's not showing all my slides, brother. Nick, push a button. Okay. In order to make Africa and South America fit, they shrank Africa 40%. Okay. Similar fossils are found all over the world. Can somebody Google, are any kangaroo fossils found in America? I don't know the answer to that. Okay. But finding similar fossils on opposite sides of it does not prove any connection or movement of the continents. Okay. Let's see. I covered.
But
I'm missing.
can
I'm
I
missing. Yeah, go
can
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
say
Yeah,
one thing real quick?
sure.
So, you know, I just would want an understanding of why we have the fossil sites in Australia, which would have formed during a flood, but yet if we have current marsupial species there that would have had to have come from Turkey or wherever the ark landed and resettled back in Australia, and yet it would have just been marsupials that would have settled there because that's really the only mammals that we find there apart from like the dingo and
Mhm.
some strange ones like platypus and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Does
I
that make
don't. Oh,
sense?
it does a little bit. I don't have a quick answer to that. I've never thought about that. I know that the creation view would be very simple. After the flood, Noah gets off the ark, and the continents are much larger because the oceans are much smaller because the ice caps are much bigger. The ice age, I believe, took place at the beginning and during the flood. The crystal canopy overhead would be the creation view. Shattered, was dumped on the North and South Pole. Massive ice caps all the way down to Kansas City, Missouri, trapping bazillions of tons of water. So when Noah gets off the ark, you could walk anywhere. All over the world, there are continental shelves that, if you lower the ocean just a few hundred feet, you could see continental shelf. You could walk anywhere in the world. Between Australia and Vietnam, if you lowered the ocean, I think 100 feet, you could walk between the two. Now, there are some deeper spots in there that would walk around them. Okay. Uh, so, yeah, I think there would be a land bridge to Vietnam if you lower the ocean just 200 feet out of 12,000, which is the average ocean depth. So, the creation view would be everybody gets off in Noah's Ark in Turkey, where it landed, and the animals spread out. They probably had several hundred years to get around the world. There'd be a migration wave of creatures. and several hundred years, you could walk pretty well anywhere in the world. And then during that same time, the ice caps are melting back. The oceans are getting deeper, so the continents are shrinking. They appear to be shrinking, actually, just the coastlines underwater. And so, kangaroos, here you go. Here's my map right here. Kangaroos. Okay, there's the ice age. We know there was an ice age all the way down to Kansas City, Missouri. There's overwhelming evidence of that. And the ice age effects, the glaciers, the terminal moraines, and drumlins, seem to be centered around the magnetic North Pole, not the geographic North Pole. So by lowering the oceans, England and Scotland become part of France. Okay, you can see the continental shelf from a satellite view right there. Lowering the oceans a few hundred feet would connect Russia and Alaska with a great big huge land bridge. So where's the Australia one here? Okay, there we go. Here's, if you notice, the light blue is the shallow water around Borneo and Sarawak and the Indonesian islands. So you could actually walk to Australia, I think, for a few hundred years. Now, kangaroos, my guess would be, are less aggressive than tigers and would tend to avoid conflict and would rather run than fight with more ferocious animals. So the theory would be they migrated there over the first few hundred years away from animals that were more ferocious. Now, keep in mind, all of this is simply a reasonable theory based on what the Bible says and based on the scientific evidence. Evolutionists look for a theory to answer it a different way. You're welcome. There may be 40 different theories. But my answer to your question would be, why are only kangaroo fossils found in Australia? I don't know. I don't know that that's true, first of all. Maybe somebody found kangaroo fossils in Greenland. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. I'll do some checking on it, though. Kangaroo fossils.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, it just seems curious to me that you would have the vast majority of fossils in Australia would be marsupial, and then the marsupials would settle later back in Australia. That just seems
Right.
to me, there's a question there, but I really appreciate your answer, and
Okay.
I'll move to the next, we can move to the next person. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Sounds
it.
great. Thank you, sir.